Hello everybody, and today's video is a review, and this time we are taking a look at the Celestial Toymaker, which is a story which has recently been animated for a DVD release, or well, in this case it's the Blu-ray, but Everlong Lost Classic is finally watchable for us. So first take a look at the DVD cover itself. So we've got a Doctor Who, the Celestial Toymaker, and we've got the Toymaker himself and the TARDIS on the stage. I think that's from part 3 of the dancing floor. We've got the Spine Doctor, the Celestial Toymaker, BBC PG, and the back. We've got some pictures at the top, the animation itself, and the blurb is as follows. The Celestial Toymaker sees the Doctor and his companions separated when they come up against the Toymaker. While the Doctor plays a trilogic game, Stephen and Dodo are forced to play their own seemingly childish but ultimately dangerous games with the aim of being reunited and getting back to the TARDIS. He will be the first to make the false move in this battle of wits, and will the TARDIS ever escape the Toymaker's snare? Fans of Doctor Who have long lamented the loss of the original 1966 master recordings of all except one of the Celestial Toymaker. All episodes have been animated in both colour and black and white using the original off-air audio, and this release includes the original episode 4 with the other episodes animated, photographic reconstructions, audio commentaries, a photo gallery, an escape room, and making of the animation featurette, a Sylvester McCoy introduction, and an interview from Carmen Silvera, which is audio only, and it is in 92 minutes approximately, and it is also PG as well. So again, it's the same inside the slipcase, really, same sort of cover, background pictures. Inside it's a 3, I think it's a 2 disc release actually, but we've got this one which is the black and white, this 2 which is the colour, and as you can see in the background, if you take out this, you've got an alternate front cover where you can make it match the rest of the DVDs. Over here we've got the booklet, which details some quite in-depth stuff about the story itself, with its production history and the animation, and a bit more about its viewing figures. And we've also got other booklet showcasing Octane merchandise, as you can pick up the audio release as well, and other bits and pieces. So that's the showcasing of the Celestial Toymaker done. So, what are my general thoughts and opinions of the stick? I would have to say that without a doubt the Celestial Toymaker is 100% one of my favourite Hartnells. It is so imaginative and evocative, and I really enjoy the structure of it, because I feel like how there's this kind of ticking time clock with the trilogic game, and sort of Stephen and Dodo having to complete their games across the various episodes, and I like how they sort of give the TARDIS team a game per episode. I think it's really well structured. The only sort of fallback of this would be episode where they do sort of 2 games in one. I would have kind of preferred if they'd have stuck as that 1 game per episode, and kind of really built up the tension a bit more. But yeah, the structure is great. The Toymaker himself is really well utilised and played. Yes, there are unfortunate racial connotations in both his appearance and perhaps the title of the Celestial Toymaker itself, but to a certain extent I can look past that, because Michael Goff plays the character really well. He just sort of oozes sort of creepiness and this sort of child in a sort of deviant god's body, which I think is really quite creepy actually. And Michael Goff's performance is excellent and sort of that sort of, I think he really manages to pull off that kind of malevolence that other character deserves. I also like the kind of the subtle sort of horror. I really like the subtle horror implications in the story, like particularly in episode 1, sort of, and it becomes apparent that Joey and the I think it's Claire, is it? Yeah, I think the clown are going to lose kind of very quickly. Their sort of clown-like demeanour drop, and it sort of suddenly becomes quite unpleasant, or it's implied that it's quite unpleasant to sort of watch them play at the game, and it's really quite creepy actually. And in episode 2, with the bit with the chairs and the way that the dolls get sort of destroyed is really creative and again very creepy. I really like how that's done. And also I think other characters, I think how they sort of chosen as various storybook characters are great. Again, the clowns are good. Not the biggest fan of the cook and the sergeant in episode 3, but I think Cyril's great. He's really well utilised actually, and is again very kind of creepy and at the same time nauseating to watch, but in a good way. He's really well acted by I think it's Peter Stevens actually. I think it's the guy who played as a priest in The Underwater Menace. I think that's the actor who it is, but yeah, he's very good to watch. And also just the imagination in itself that the story sort of puts across is again very well utilised. All the different games, you could probably keep the story going forever really. Stephen's great in this actually. I think it really kind of shows off his acting chops and sort of his sort of potential to be a leading man, and I think Dodo is a lot better in the story than perhaps her reputation kind of tells about really, because yes, she can be a bit annoying in places, but I think overall she is quite enjoyable in this. And the bits that Hartnell's in, he is very good as well, particularly in episode 4 when they sort of have that confrontation with the Toymaker. I thought that was quite good. So yeah, that's all the positives on the story. Negatives, yeah, I mentioned in episode 3 how it kind of abandons that structure of like having that game which all the characters we need to play, which I think episodes 1, 2 and 4 do really well. But episode 3 kind of falls on its face a bit because they sort of try and cram 2 games in and it doesn't quite work. Like if they'd perhaps had the dancing floor and then maybe not had the bit with the cook and the sergeant, that would have been much better, I think, because it sort of loses any sort of impetus really when it gets to that bit, and it can be a bit hard to sort of hard to follow what's going on in the story in that respect. So yeah, that's my only real complaint. Episode 3 doesn't really have the same positive as the rest of the story does. But in terms of the release itself, I think the animation is actually very good. Yes, the facial expressions are quite limited, but the movement itself is really fluid. And again, other likenesses, the characters aren't 100% perfect, but I think for what it's trying to carry off, it's very well utilised. And I like the fact that they make other Toymaker's characters look like toys, because it does sort of help with the immersion aspect. And I think that this story is very immersive to watch, and some of the creative decisions really help the story itself. Like I think there's a bit in episode 3, I don't know if it's on the back, if you can see it on the back of the Blu-ray, but there's a bit in episode 3, oh no, you can't see it, there's a bit in episode 3 where they sort of, oh, there's like a really brilliant shot as they're sort of transferring between the various games, and it's so well done. And I watched the story in black and white with the original episode 4, and yeah, it's just very brilliantly done. This animation, it's not at the best. That would do for me still be at the moon base, but yeah, this one is definitely up there in terms of animations. And yeah, so it's a very good release, which if you can look past the likenesses, then it's a very enjoyable story, and it sort of has a nice pace to it as well, the story does, which I forgot to say earlier. Yeah, that was my review of the Celestial Toymaker, another brilliant Hartnell release, which I'm sure people will enjoy when they get around to watching it on DVD or Blu-ray or iPlayer. I give this one an 8 out of 10. So thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.